go to the Start button, go to Administrative Tools, click on that, and then click on Windows Deployment Services. And this is the window we actually need to use for managing our deployment services. So you just click on that there. And if you want to add an additional server, you click Add Server, and then you go to another server and then browse the local area network for the computer itself. I'm actually using this particular server, which is londonbox.com. This is the one we're going to be using in this demonstration. Then what you do then is go configure server, and this is a Microsoft wizard, which is a configuration wizard, which is the minimum requirements for the DHCP and DNS and NTF partition deployment servers. Tells you some information on there, and if you click next, it brings up this page here, which is telling you where you want your PXE boot files. This is where the image is going to be stored. I'm not going to have it in this one. I'm going to have it in a different. I've already got a partition set up for this, so now we need a location of where our images will be deployed out to our servers and clients. A partition or on a hard drive. Typically we need an NTFS partition. I would recommend keeping the default name here. Everything is set up to look for this name. Just makes sense to stick with it. Now on this screen has to do with our computer is also a DHCP computer. If we had a different DHCP server running on the network, then this wouldn't be an issue, but because this computer is also a DHCP server, we want to go ahead and check both boxes, which is don't listen to port 67 and configure DHCP 60 to the PXE client. We want to tell it not to listen to port 67, which is the port that is used for our DHCP server broadcasts, and we want to configure which is option 60 to PXE client, and it basically has to do with the letting the client which gets an IP address from this machine as a DHCP server know the presence of Windows deployment services. Server initial settings. Our choices are not to respond to a client computer. I would recommend using this option. We don't want clients to start communicating with WDS server before you're done setting it up. When you finish this wizard, it does allow you to get back to this page, and you can change these computer settings to how you want your networks to be set up. This next setting, respond only to client computers. What this means is that if you want to change or use these services but only to a specific computers that have already been configured, set up to allow this. It's called pre-staging the computer accounts. That's going into the Active Directory, creating the computer accounts before the computer exists. You have to know what the GUID of the computers helps keep your environment. It helps keep your environment secure, only responding to known clients. Click on Respond to all client computers, which is a high security issue in a network. Then I'm going to go on to any client computers because this is a setting I want for my server. Now I need to enter the path name and file name of Windows image. There are two different types of images by default. The install images are the images that are actually used to install the operating systems. So if you want to install Windows 7 or Windows 8, there will need to be an image for that particular operating system. Boot images are used by the client computer to boot the client computer before the operating system is installed. On a Windows 7 DVD comes with a boot install boot image. If you go down to your Start, computer. Just go right click on there and go to open, and then if you go to the sources folder, and if you scroll down you'll come to the boot image file. There it is. It's called a boot.wim file, which is for the booting. And if you scroll further you come to the install.wim file, which is the installation. We're back into the wizard and we need to browse to this location for the Windows 7 DVD. If your files are stored on another server, then you would browse the location to where the actual files are stored. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go browse, and you go to computer, go onto the DVD of the Windows 7, go to the sources folder and then click OK, and then go next. What it's going to do next is going to find all the image files that are in the location. The next screen here, called an image group, basically have a lot of images that are similar. As for an instance, this particular default install.wim file, this is where you actually name the image. So I'm going to put in here Windows 7, because that's the name of the image. Click next. This is going to tell you the number of images to be installed. That's how many boot images. There's just one. Go next, and we've successfully added these images to the server. It's ready to begin deployment. But before I do, I would like to show you the properties on the server. The General tab just explains about remote installation folder, the name of the computer, the server mode, which is Windows Deployment Services. If you go to the Pixie Response tab, this is a screen we have seen before. This is where you can change your response setting from how we did it from the installation. This tab, which is the Directory Service tab, and on this tab, this is where we'll come up with a format for a naming of the computers. In the event you're going to deploy, let's say, an entire room of computers, this is more appropriate for a client Windows 8 or 7 computers in a call center, and maybe you want to go ahead and have them all with the same name with numbers at the side of them. This is username, number sign. It's going to represent a sequential number. If we wanted, we could put in and that will actually tell you the sales office, and then it'll come with the numbers at the side of it. Okay, if we go to the client tab, which is the next tab, the client tab is where you can set up Windows deployment services to be run in an unintended mode. This is simply to automate deployment of the boot process. Go to Dhcp tab. This is again, we can choose to change our settings with these two checkboxes and what we selected during setup. This tab is for specialized multicast IP address ranges on your network, and this is where you could change it if you did. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is to set up a Multicast Transmissions. This is one of the key benefits to using Windows deployment services. I can tell you that I have been out at clients where we need to deploy 30 images, and they were fairly simple images out of 30 different machines. One image to 30 different machines, and I try to do this simultaneously without using multicast, meaning using a pure unicast technology. What that meant was this particular had to hand out 30 images separately at the same time over 100 megabit Ethernet, and it was approximately 2 gig image. It didn't work. Only 5 out of 30 installed. The rest said, I gave up. And out of 5 of them, 1 of them were a corrupted image installation. So needless to say, that didn't go so well, and what I had to do, I had to slow it down, and I remembered correctly, approximately 10 computers at a time, then the network was able to handle it. Well, now using a multicast, we know we have the ability to go ahead to transmit once, then have all 30 machines receive that one transmission simultaneously. So let me show you how to go and do this. Okay, I'm going to expand the server. You right click onto Multicast Transmissions, go create a multicast, and then what I'm going to do is call it a name. I'm going to call it deploy to Windows 7 clients. These are the image groups from our Windows 7 DVD. Here are the 4 images. We've got Home Premium, Professional, Windows Ultimate and Home Basic. The one what I'm going to be pushing out is the Windows Professional. I'm just going to go next. And now what I'm going to do is schedule this multicast. You could schedule it to start at a specific time. It will go ahead and roll out these images overnight. Or you can start it automatically where a number of clients are ready to receive this image. So in this case I'm going ahead and with a threshold of 2. So when 2 clients have connected to this deployment service server, they are ready for receiving an image. They will be beginning to deploy an image. It will go to both machines at the same time. Hi, I just want to show you how it's actually booting up. It's not actually found the operating system yet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot it up again and show you. So it picks up the IP address from the DHCP server. So this time I'm going to go like it. Click on F12. It's now booting up from the DHCP server. You can see the IP address 192.168.52, and it's booting from the boot 64 images boot WIM file which we installed previously. Now it should go through the configuration of the Windows 7 image which we installed onto the computer, and then it'll just go through the general setups of location and keyboards, and it's starting up Windows 7, going through the general configurations, and you probably know what you to expect from here on.